Despite his best efforts to live in prayer and solitude, today's saint found it difficult to achieve his deepest desire. People were naturally drawn to Hilarion as a source of spiritual wisdom and peace. He had reached such fame by the time of his death that his body had to be secretly removed so that a shrine would not be built in his honor. Instead, he was buried in his home village. St Hilarion the Great was born in 291 in a city called Tabitha. Hilarion was an inquisitive child with a heart full of compassion. He loved exploring the fields and hills surrounding his village. When he grew up, he was sent to Alexandria to study science. In Alexandria, Hilarion met wise scholars and kind teachers who nurtured his thirst for knowledge and spirituality. He was very inspired, and he too was baptized afterwards. One day, a great Christian leader named St Anthony of Egypt visited Alexandria. St Anthony was renowned for his ascetic and humble life in the desert, seeking solitude and communion with God. Hilarion was deeply inspired by St Anthony's teachings and decided to follow in his footsteps. Leaving behind his comfortable life in the city, Hilarion set out on a journey into the wilderness. He ventured into the unforgiving desert, armed only with his unwavering faith and determination. Hilarion stayed with St. Anthony in the desert for 2 months. He carefully observed everything in Anthony's life and conduct, his affability, his gentleness towards others, and his severity towards himself. After his learning period, he returned to Tabitha, but he found his father and mother had both died. He kept nothing of his heritage for himself and distributed everything to the poor and needy. He was only 15 years old at that time. Despite his youth and delicate health, he settled down in the desert near the city of Mayuma. He lived first in a cabin of reeds, then in one of clay, so low and narrow that it seemed more like a tomb than a lodging for a young man. He encountered harsh conditions, scorching sun, and relentless sandstorms, but he never wavered in his commitment to lead a life of prayer, meditation, and self-discipline. At first, Hilarion was fighting against constant impure wishes, torturing his mind and body. However, he managed to cope with them with the help of strict fasting and wholehearted prayer. The devil tried to frighten Hilarion and sent different ghosts and visions to disturb him. During prayer, the saint heard children weeping, women mourning, and wild beasts roaring. Hilarion knew that all that horror was caused by the demons in order to make him leave the desert. That is why he prevailed over his fear with the help of prayer. He learned all of the Holy Scripture by heart and repeated it with admirable devotion. I'm sorry to interrupt. This is a quick update regarding our Patreon tiers. Due to some technical reasons, we were unable to deliver the ebooks as promised through Patreon for the last few months. We have already completed these books months before, and we will try to deliver these to you directly. Starting this month, we are changing the benefits for those who support us in this tier. We have no words to thank you enough. You are simply awesome. In return, we will include yours or your loved one's pictures in the video. Send us the pictures and we will use them as such, or illustrate them and include them in the credit scene. Since we cannot make the videos long, we are limiting this slot for 50 people. You can follow the Patreon link for more details. I also humbly request all other viewers to consider the number of saint stories you learned in the past year, the value you got from it, and support us if possible by donating. Your support will help us make more videos. Thanks again, and God bless you. A woman of Eleutheropolis, despised by her husband of 15 years because of her sterility, was the first who dared to intrude upon Blessed Hilarion's solitude. While he was still unaware of her approach, she suddenly threw herself at his knees, saying, "Forgive my boldness." He asked her why she had come and why she was weeping. When he learned of the cause of her grief, raising his eyes to heaven, he commanded her to have faith and to believe. He followed her departure with tears. When a year had gone by, he saw her with her son. On another occasion, a band of thieves came to rob him. Hilarion told them he did not fear them because he had nothing to lose, and death did not alarm him since he was ready to die. So deeply were they affected with his words, they promised to abandon their life of sins. Soon, the holy ascetic became well known all over. The Lord granted Hilarion the power to cast out evil spirits and demons. That gift of God let the saint help many of the afflicted people. The sick came to him for healing, and Hilarion cured them for free. As he said by himself, the grace of God is not for sale. News of these miracles spread like wildfire, and people arrived at his hermitage in large numbers. Hilarion desired solitude, believing it was God's will for him. But God had other ideas and sent crowds to disrupt his aloneness. The parade of petitioners and would-be disciples drove Hilarion to retire to more remote locations, but they followed him everywhere. At the age of 65, Hilarion found his home transformed into a city and decided to go elsewhere. His disciples attempted to change his mind, but he had already made up his mind. His mentor, St. Anthony, had recently died, and Hilarion wished to visit the places where he had dwelt. After spending some time in Egypt, he went with only 2 religious to a village a few days' distance from Babylon. He tried many times to live an anonymous life, but never could succeed. St. Hilarion died in 372 on the island of Cyprus at the age of 77 years old. His last words were, "Go forth, my soul, why dost thou doubt? Nigh 70 years hast thou served God, and dost thou fear death?" His body was found incorrupt some time afterwards, and was transported to Palestine to his original monastery. Today, St. Hilarion is remembered and celebrated as a symbol of spiritual strength and unwavering faith. Pilgrims visit his shrines, and his story is shared with young and old alike, inspiring all to seek a life of devotion to God and service to others.